did a little quick and dirty research insight study, and we learned from all of you that you like presents. So I know, it was so scientific, it was amazing. We didn't ask one person, I just made it up. And so what you can do is, I would like you to all look under your chair, because our next guest, Jessica Klundnicki, who is the CMO of Skullcandy, has provided you potentially with a very special prize. You are going to find a golden ticket. Look, I love people like getting on the floor. Someone get this on video. Okay. Do we have 5? There should be 5. Okay. Oh, yay, fun. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we have a 5th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5. Woo! Jessica, come on up, because you are the provider of these presents. On each of your pieces of paper, it says a mood. This is tied to the 12 moods. And Jessica, I'm super excited to introduce her. These are, you can tell them what the products actually are, and you can pick them up in the back, but I want to introduce her since she's standing here next to me. Skullcandy is based here in Park City. Jessica is the CMO. I've had the great pleasure of talking with her as we've talked about 12 Moods, which is just an incredible program. She's a very seasoned marketer in the best way. Now I'm like, do we call people seasoned anymore? What does that mean? We all figured out we were old yesterday from the Hinge people. It's been a really enlightening day. But she was at Mizuno before. She ran a portfolio of outdoor brands, and she has been at Skullcandy for about 1.5 years.
Yep.
And she's lived all over the world. So she's just a really incredible marketer and lovely person, and I'm super excited to introduce her. And why don't you tell them what's on their card?
Sure. Can you stand up and shout out your mood that you got, and I'll tell you what you're getting.
Stand up.
Stand
up, and we'll just go in order. Dylan.
Okay. Howard. Oh, that's perfect. You have daughters? I heard you say you had daughters. Okay, great, because that's empowered pink, and you get a pair of truly wireless earbuds and a crossbody sling bag in pink. What's yours?
So I have Bold March.
Bold March. Okay, so that was Women's Month, so we also supported some beautiful women. So you get a bold tangerine pair of earbuds and a hat. You'll know what this all means later. What did you get? Elevated April. Now, that was a fun one, because in April on 420, there's a special day that's celebrated in certain parts of the country. So that month is Elevated Olive. And where do you live? LA. Oh, perfect. So it's legal there. So you get a pair of earbuds and a bud kit. And your bud kit will hold your earbuds and has 2 little food-grade containers that you can use for your vitamins or whatever else you want to store. So, yeah. What else do we have? Independent Purple? It's purple, but Independent Purple, that's this month, that's July, and that is a pair of earbuds and a backpack. Okay, perfect. Is that 5?
No.
No, we're missing one? Oh.
It's either fresh lint or
Fresh lint. It's fresh lint, that's what you get. It's fresh mint, and so you get earbuds and a water bottle. And yeah, and we'll explain what that all means here in a second.
Yeah, awesome. Have a seat.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so that was a super fun introduction, and thank you for doing that. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what 12 Moods is before we show the video. But it is truly a content and storytelling platform.
Yep.
I would go way further than calling it a program. And we'd love to hear more from you.
There's so many pieces to it. I have some cheater notes just in case, because there are so many ingredients to this program. I sometimes forget what it is. But in essence, I want to back up just a tiny bit. Our brand's only 16 years old. Started here in Park City on a chairlift, literally, by a snowboarder. And 16 years doesn't sound like a long time ago, but it was before iPhones. So he took a phone call on the chairlift with his flip phone, and it interrupted his music that he was playing on his MP3 player. And so he invented a product that was a splitter, so he could toggle back and forth between phone calls and music. So he flew over to China. When he got there, all the stuff that he was going to buy, it was gray and silver and black and boring. And so at that moment, he decided he was going to market the brand like a snowboard brand. So it was a very colorful brand, the name, the logo, the skull. And so it grew really quickly. This was before Beats was around, and it was truly a lifestyle brand at the time. Took off like a rocket ship, went public in 2011, and then like many public companies, got spread a little thin, started to do all sorts of stuff that didn't necessarily make sense. Like we were sponsoring everything from Chinese Olympic ping pong players to Formula One drivers to Snoop Dogg, and it was really all over the map. And so in 2016, we had the good fortune to go private, and at that time, the company kind of reset, and I joined a little bit after that, and our mission, or my mission at the outset was to really reset. So I'm backing up here because we had to reset our mission, vision, values, and what I like to call our North Star. So I'm holding this book, and actually in your bag, you're going to get one of these brand books as well. But we really had to reset the company so everybody had one common understanding about what we were doing. And so the North Star that we rallied around is music you can feel. So we feel like we're kind of an underdog, we're privately held, but we play up against guys like Sony, Beats, Bose, Apple. Those are the brands that are right ahead of us. And so we felt like we could really bring emotion to the category, and with our history in action sports and music, we really wanted to get back to that. So the foundation was music you can feel, and we really wanted to illustrate that in our marketing program. So we had a step in between before we got to this program, which we may talk about a little bit, but ultimately we wanted to rally around the idea of how music makes us feel. And so the whole program is around celebrating moods and music. So every single month there is this mechanism that we play with, and it's around a mood, a color. We partner with a musician, an athlete to maintain our board sports DNA, and then there's this whole pile of content that comes along with it that we'll talk about. But every single month we do this, and you're going to get a little taste here in the video, and then I can dive in a little more on the details.
They be swole a lot, like la 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 la. I'm singing to the fucking choir. Big body bands. I'm stuck to you. I'm sorry, I'm scared, girl. You lose.
This shit is a girl blunt. I only smoke girl blunts. Listen, I suggest you don't try me. I'm real unstable. 100 bad bitches in the city. All the girls, they're so pretty. 100 bad bitches in the city. All the girls, they're so
It's so great. I mean, every time I watch this video, I get so excited. And also, in case you didn't know, masks are in.
Oh,
Yeah, face masks. Just so
I
you
don't
know.
understand it. I'm too seasoned probably at this point to understand
We're all
it,
too
but
seasoned in the room. If any of you have masks, you are like so elevated. It's amazing.
It's a thing now.
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love it. if we have time, you have to tell them what the CEO did. But we have to get into the program. Okay, so as we talked about in our chat, this didn't just happen, right? Like you didn't just have this program right out of the gate, and it's been so successful. You did a live concert series. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you moved past that into 12 Moods?
Yep. So the first program we did after we built that foundation, we wanted to really plant our brand back in music in a big way. So the first program we did was called Now Feel This, and it was a 29-episode live concert series. So we were partnering with acts that were happening. We were putting on private concerts, and we were live streaming these 45-minute plus sets. Operationally super complicated, incredible program, incredible views, but it was really complicated to live stream concerts. And so we were super pleased with it. We got a ton of traction, a ton of eyeballs on it, but weren't real satisfied with the watch time. So we were creating these 45-minute and 50-minute sets, and we were getting kind of tiny watch time relative to the length of the program. But it did have some real positive benefit for us because we're not a huge company, so we have to prove sort of the business benefit. I'm sorry, Group J from yesterday, because we talked a little bit about this. But we really couldn't do content for content's sake. We had to really connect the dots back to the business objectives and really wanted to connect back to e-commerce. So we used all those eyeballs, all those views, all those consumers that we were talking to build a really healthy retargeting pool that then we could go back out and talk to with some more commercial messaging. So we built this really nice little ecosystem of retargeting that was really working. So the left brains in the building, our CFO, our CEO, were really happy with it, even though it was a big, expensive content program. So we ran it also 12 months, and at the end of it, really wanted to carry some of those concepts forward, but we needed it to be a little stickier from an engagement standpoint, a little more emotional, and there were a few other objectives around, I mentioned the origin of the company. We wanted to bring the candy back to the company, the color, both literally and figuratively. We really needed to connect better back to product launches. So concert series was awesome, but there was absolutely no way to really connect directly back to product. It was completely disconnected. And then if you looked at like our Instagram feed, you'd look at it and there would be random, we call it snowboard porn, but there'd be like snowboard porn video, random picture of artists, picture of product, and it was just felt very disjointed. And we had identified a new consumer target. We call them the youthful and adventurous audio consumer. They're young and they're very social media active. And so we had identified Instagram in particular as a space that we needed to grow with them. And we really needed to change the whole approach there to the content we were delivering, to aesthetically how it looked. And then, oh, by the way, a lot of you, when I said I work for Skullcandy, you're like, oh, I remember you guys, or my kid. And it was a challenge for us because we launched, very successfully launched a $300 headphone last year. We had a $200 headphone we launched last year, and we have more in that space coming. So we couldn't be the cheap and cheerful headphone brand of the 90s that you might remember. And so we had to straddle this line between youthful and premium at the same time. And so there were all these new objectives wrapped up in how we wanted to evolve that program to the next generation.
So obviously, then you have to go back to the CEO and the CFO and say, hey, we did this huge year-long program. We got this big retargeting pool. Yay, awesome, satisfying some of the left side. How did you then align the resources, the budget, right? Because getting, a lot of brands would have completely abandoned this in a way because it's like, oh, well, this didn't really work in the way that we had hoped. Yep. And the support, right? Like those are sort of the trifecta of the things that you need. How did you go back and sort of say, this didn't work, but we think this will?
Yeah, and I'd say it worked. It was a big stride from where we were. We had gotten a lot more organized and integrated than we were previously. It just wasn't all the way yet. So I mean, my background, so step back just a tiny bit, before joining Skullcandy, I was the general manager of some outdoor businesses. So I had to do everything. So I was not the marketing person anymore. And I think it's, it forces me to be a little bit more of a well-rounded marketer and think about the entire holistic business. So for me and for us, it started with what are the overall business objectives for the company, and then let's build the program against that. And I think we were able to demonstrate a program that really, if you talk to our CEO now, and he comes from a CFO background, he glows when he talks about this program because he loves how it truly does connect the dots with sports marketing, with music, with the product launches that are coming. And there is a real left brain, right brain, even though it feels super creative. There is a lot of data behind this that we look at every single Monday morning, and we adapt and adjust as needed. But the biggest thing that he loves and the company loves is there is a direct line to e-commerce. So those bundles that you guys are going to get, those were limited edition products that have sold out every single month. So it's not a huge number, but we're selling out. And what's happened is we're driving so much traffic to the website that all ships are rising. Our e-commerce is way up. You saw the number, it's triple-digit increase. And then our whole business is up. So I think we were able to paint the story and paint the picture that we're able to connect all these dots. We're able to drive business. We're able to drive e-commerce. And we're going to be super transparent and report on how everything's going. And we're going to course correct if we need to. And so it was kind of an easy sell-in. And then the other sneaky little thing that we did both years in a row is we made it a 12-month program, and we announced it to the world, so that even if somebody did question how it was going, we called it 12 moods. We can't do 8 moods now if we're partway through the program. So I think really tying back to the business objectives, understanding what we were going to measure, and then really rigorously tracking to that. And just connecting all these pieces of content together so they all had meaning, and it wasn't just. I think previously we were pumping out a lot of random content that didn't ladder up, didn't add up, didn't fully drive to the business objective. So it's kind of an easy sell.
Amazing. I think it's so interesting, right? Because this isn't just a marketing program, like you said, right? Because you have to have product and supply chain and alignment from all the parts of the company in order to do something like this. So how did you not only align and organize around bringing this to life, because it is a really significant effort. I think it would be really interesting, right? Because oftentimes companies can be siloed and it can be difficult, and you've got agencies and all kinds of things involved. How did you go about getting this all aligned?
Yeah, so once we organized around the concept, we knew it was going to be 12 moods. We plotted out the 12 moods. Once we cemented that, we really were able to then bring all the minds together to figure out what the different tentacles would be. And I think people's eyes were real wide when we talked about this, especially our product team, who was like, you want to do what? Every month. Not only were we creating limited edition audio products, that's our core business, we also decided we were going to go make hats and bags and water bottles and all sorts of random stuff that we don't know how to make. There were a lot of kind of wide eyes from supply chain and product team and the finance team and everyone in the building. But once we rallied around it, having the plan, we had the 12-month plan, but then, it's gotten much more detailed. So now we have 30, 60, 90-day calendars that literally we have a daily content calendar, daily out 90 days for all channels that we're playing in. And then we're not a huge company, so it's easy to walk down the hall, but every Monday morning, my team looks at the reporting. If there's anything we need to course correct on, any learnings, we incorporate that into our thinking. We have a weekly massive cross-functional meeting where we talk about every aspect of 12 moods. And at first those meetings were 90 minutes long and grinding through the sausage of every little detail, of every channel, every detail. Now it's almost like anticlimactic. It's down to 30 minutes and we're like, we're in, we're out. And the creative team would kill me if they heard me say this, but it's kind of on autopilot now that we're 5 months in. But so just having the clear plan and committing to it. There have been like some course corrections on exactly what creative or exactly what we're going to post on what day. But the plan is there, and it's really freeing, I think. Freedom within a framework, we like to say, that there's a lot of creativity still happening, but the framework's there that every department, from sports marketing to creative to product to brand to social, everybody knows what to do. Everybody comes into the office and knows what to do every day.
So great. There's an age-old question amongst marketers and brands themselves about this creative process, right? Creative is so important, and obviously as part of this is really foundational. You mentioned to me that you guys actually brought your entire creative process in-house.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, both logistically
Yep.
and and the why behind it?
Sure.
Yeah.
in front of a room full of
Yeah.
agencies and
Hey,
creative
guys.
people.
P.S. I just started running
Please
an
don't throw
agency,
your
so this is really
I'm sorry.
like the roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't talk as much about the details of what the content is. So I'll talk a little bit about that before I answer that question. So each piece, there's specific content that we create. So with the musician, we literally create, you probably couldn't see, but go back and please check out some of the videos. For each month and each mood, we tried to do something that's either topical with the month, so March is Women's Month, Elevated, and then we tried to work with the artist to illustrate something either about them or about the song that they were singing, and the set behind them is this really cool curated set that illustrates them. So Rico Nasty was the month of March. She's known as the queen of Sugar Trap, if you know what that means. We put her in a candy shop, and we created this set that was a candy shop. For Earth Gang, for Elevated, there's a lot of foliage in the background, and so each month there's a theme. So we had to create these sets and film a music video. And then while we have the artist, we shoot photography of them on set. We do a full-length podcast, I forgot to mention. We do short-form interviews called Feel It, Don't Feel It, that's a little bit more snackable content. Then we have the athletes. For the athletes, we've been doing little mini documentaries. So if you look at yesterday's post, Chris Joslin's young skateboarder, we do a little mini documentary on them. We shoot photography of them. Then we shoot models, and we shoot the models in studio. We shoot the models outside. We shoot product, and so on and so on. There's a whole influencer component. So there's all these ingredients. And once we started to figure out all these ingredients, 365 days worth of content on all different platforms and channels. So Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, our own website. We just didn't feel like it was going to be feasible to have a third party involved in that, both logistically in coordinating the effort and also financially. Again, like the years prior, every time we'd go out to do one piece of content, like we were writing these big checks. And social media, I overuse this term, but I say social media is this hungry beast. We couldn't drop $30,000, $40,000 every single time we wanted to do a little video. And so we had to be agile. We had to be able to course correct. We needed approvals to go quickly. So we just realized for this particular program, we were going to have to bring the creative in-house. So we had the good fortune of hired a creative director out of an agency, and he basically built a little in-house agency with director, producer, editors, graphic designers, and we do augment with some freelance work, but man, has it allowed us to be super nimble. And like, we're all standing over the video editor's shoulder approving the video a couple days before it goes live, and it's what allows us to do 365 days worth of content. And so there's some areas where we've had agency partners, but it's honestly reinforced our good decision for how it's worked. And tuning the dials as to which things make sense to freelance or outsource is kind of in the works now, but I've had lovely agency partners, and we do love agencies, but for the complexity of this and all the different ingredients, we just didn't think we were going to be able to pull it off, and it's worked really, really well for us.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. What is the future of 12 Moods? Do you double down on the equity you've built and do another 12 Moods? And how many moods are there? And can someone please Google Sugar Trap and let me know what that means after this?
Even better, Tommy Genesis is a fetish rapper. Go look that up.
Oh, okay, and a fetish rapper.
So,
yeah, can you talk a little bit about that and how that's gonna live on or not?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about measurement, but we have a lot of things that we measure. The baseline was views of the video content, our reach, our impressions, but we were also trying to grow Instagram. So the other thing, if you go scroll through our Instagram, we wanted this cool mechanism. So it's this flood of color. It's grown, it literally grows 1,000 a day. It's 489,000 this morning. It'll probably be 490 today. So growing that Instagram audience was important to us. Increasing the stickiness and the engagement. So we've seen watch time go up. So these shorter form pieces of content have worked for us. Watch time's up, engagement's way up. So we've been measuring engagement on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We've already surpassed full year last year, 5 months into this program. And just the soft soft measurement, I'd say, as we look at the commentary. And before, our Facebook feed and our Instagram feed was like people complaining about warranty issues and broken product, and the conversation has changed, which is exactly what we wanted to do. E-commerce is way up, the product is sold out, our whole business is up, everything's good, right? So as we've measured it, now we're trying to figure out, okay, it's actually much harder, in my opinion, to upgrade something that's working than it is to fix something that's messed up. So going from, year 1 to year 2, I felt was easier. We are in the throes of it now. So we are definitely going to double down on moods as they're associated with music. It's the North Star of our brand, music you can feel. So we'll definitely double down on that. We're definitely going to double down on this formula of limited edition product, tying together our musicians and our athletes. So we're trying to figure out just kind of a new twist and really trying to keep it fresh for the consumer, but also even fresh for our own team. So one of the dangers of bringing it in-house is, one of our concerns is we have a lot of former agency people in-house now who used to get to work on all sorts of different brands and different creative. And one of our concerns is even just internal fatigue. So we feel like there's an infinite number of moods, an infinite number of colors, but we do need to keep it fresh for our consumer and even keep it fresh for our internal team. So we're toiling away on that right now, and it's trying to lock it down soon because we'll launch the next wave in March of next year.
I'm very excited for the next 6 months and then beyond. So a final question then, I want to open it up, if that's okay, to a few questions from the audience. So what is one piece of advice you might give, because we're at a brand storytelling conference talking about elevating and championing sort of this art and this craft. What's one piece of advice that you might leave the room with as you think about championing, advocating, and sort of pushing us forward to elevate the craft?
Yeah, I wrote down a kind of corny formula.
Oh, I love it.
I'm going to share.
We're big on formulas, as we found out yesterday.
I was inspired by the guys.
Even if they're made up.
So it's story.
Okay.
So S, strategy first. We're envious of there's some major, like, big brands that can do amazing stuff, and it's like one little piece of their marketing program. For us, this is everything. Like, this is everything we are doing. This supports all of our product launches. Once we launch this program, there's no other marketing activities. Essentially, this is it. So strategy first for us. I think where people bump into not being able to evangelize or not getting the buy-in of the company or of other departments or their CEO or their CFO is when it's not connected back to business objectives. So if there's a clear strategy first, I think that's mission critical. Tentacles. We are real efficient when we go out and shoot. We know exactly what we're going to shoot. We know all the channels that it's going to go to, and we milk that content like crazy because we can't leave that shoot and go, oh my gosh, we wish we would have gotten such and such. And so really, once we set out, once we film, we are capturing video content, still content, in every single format for all the different platforms so that we have all these little tentacles that we can use for the duration of the program. Organize and optimize. I mean, with all these ingredients, we have to be super, super, super organized, but we also have to optimize because this whole thing, we made this up. We didn't know which ingredients were going to work, not work, and so it's extremely, extremely organized, and we built the plan and we're working the plan, but we've also left a little bit of room to be able to optimize within that so that we're not stuck in this formula if there's an ingredient that's not working. Results and reporting. So we're real rigorous about it and transparent about it. So most of this is working, but there have been some things that work better than others. And so we've been really transparent about it so that we've earned the trust, I think, of the organization. And then also sharing those results, and I call it market the marketing, but man, every opportunity we have to share with the whole company, we share and evangelize our success. And then the why was tough, but so your consumer at the center, like you're to keep it authentic. Like, we've really had to understand who our consumer is, who that target consumer is, so we're speaking to them in the right way, in the right channels, targeting them with the right communications. And that's my story. That's
amazing. Thank you so much. It was so great. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Dylan has a question. Yeah, go.
Yes,
There's a mic behind you.
Pink is, by the way, our industrial design team has said that pink is gender neutral. So if you want to wear that bag and not share it with your daughters.
So I noticed that your Instagram feed looks a lot like some of the popular Instagram influencers, especially in the photography and the design world. Did you guys take cues from, kind of thinking of yourself more as an influencer than a brand page and kind of that aesthetic that you laid out in the moods?
Kind of, yeah. And thank you for bringing up influencers. So, yeah, I mean, you see some really beautiful Instagram feeds out there. And it's, when we said we wanted to bring back the candy to Skullcandy, part of that was literally and figuratively, and the eye candy that just draws you in. You look at those, 9 squares, and you decide whether or not you're going to opt into that feed. So, yeah, a little bit. But then after that, the one thing we didn't talk about is we hadn't used regular influencers before. We worked with athletes in a typical sports marketing type relationship, write them a big check, hope they post nice things about you. But we hadn't worked with traditional influencers. And so we did launch a program that fed into this, which was kind of cool, where we ship them the product. We give them minimal direction, just please, talk about the color of the mood, but then you art direct it. So in the spirit of what the Hinge folks were talking about yesterday and like letting influencers work with your brand, we let it out into the wild, and then they gave us incredible feedback, and every month it was so different, like from the orange month to the elevated month to this month. Super cool. And then the other thing that allowed us to do, and I see we're out of time, that I didn't talk about was global. So we tried to make this a program that all of our regions could really use. And so every month we give them the package, and our expectation is that they use most of our content globally, but where they've adapted to localize the content is with influencers. So if you go and look at Skullcandy Japan or Skullcandy Europe or Skullcandy Poland, the feed looks pretty similar, and one of the differences is that they've taken local influencers and given them that same freedom, and so they look slightly different but similar, but sort of answered your question. And thank you for planting influencers in there so I can talk about that.
Plan spontaneity.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions? No. There's one. There is one? Oh, great. And then we'll wrap it up.
Thanks, Rick. Hi, Andy Siegel with TIAA. Great presentation. I really enjoyed it. You mentioned a number of times that you have a small team and that everyone's singularly focused on the task at hand. How do you keep your team focused on the singular marketing initiative, but remain a nimble, innovative mindset throughout the course of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we struggled more with previously was like what to say no to. Like we get so many requests flooding in for sponsorships, ambassador relationships, and like there was never really there was no framework to know what to say yes to, and more importantly, what to say no to. And again, I would say this has given us the freedom within the framework. The framework is a mood and a color. Other than that, and then for our athletes, we try and live in the board sports space, so surf, skate, and snow. But other than that, then the aperture is pretty wide as to what we can do within that. We've tried to work with different genres of music, really different types of influencers, a very diverse mix of influencers. So it's still super creative, and like we've had a lot of fun with the photography and a lot of fun with the sets, and so every month it's, even though it sounds very formulaic, every month we are sort of reinventing the creative, and so I think it's still left a lot of runway and a lot of room for the creatives to be creative.
Thanks.
Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is so great.
Yeah.